recording. Start streaming. Bring the microphone down and in. And let's see how we're doing there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. Hello there. I don't know if anybody's out there because I'm still getting stuff set up. Excuse me for a second here while I figure out what is going on with the stuff that is not set up. I had some major problems with the way I was working things in OBS here, and we're going to close that, close that, close that, close that. And let's see, we'll open up Twitch. There's probably nobody here, I realize that. That font guy. I just realized that I have probably not reset my, yeah, I haven't. Sorry, I'm running behind here. Just a second. Let's get off to the right pages. Kill the sound on here. Edit stream info. Yeah. Wrong thing. Okay, we want to be in just chatting. There. Done. Okay, that part's updated. Now I need that page. Moderate your own chat. We can drag that out of the way here. And we can bring up Chatterino. And I have to kill the volume on the broadcast there because otherwise we end up with that echo. Okay. Right. So, nobody here right now. Okay. We don't want that on screen. Okay, maybe this arrangement doesn't work that well. Let's see. Okay. We don't need that there. We do need node index.js though. Let's just test this. First off, drag that a little bit further up. There we go. Okay, so that's working there. Okay, there. Now it's showing the full screen. It wasn't showing the full screen before, and that wouldn't do. Half the stuff I was trying to show you wouldn't show up then. Okay. I am going to see if we've got anybody here. I don't think we do yet. So all my mad panic to try and get started by the time I said wasn't all that important by comparison, which is fine. Until somebody shows up, I'm actually going to work on this and try and figure out why I have a problem I have encountered. And hopefully, if somebody shows up, they will speak up. When I go to render that, it produces an error because of those two things there. So if I unlock that, isol mid, that's just the one. Is that enough to fix the problem? It is. So that was the first problem there. So now when I go to preview, if I do isol mid, tick, no, wrong thing, tick, yep, isol mid, isol, tick the other way. It shows all three. If I put a double tick in, it does not do it. If I go back to features, that is because when it hits isol mid, isol mid, I had a phenomenon called, I really wish that would stay on screen, but it doesn't. We had a feature called vowel swallowing working here, and I had code for it, and it was clever, and it used classes, and it worked just fine. And now it doesn't work. And I have no idea why it doesn't work, because the feedback in this program is, well, minimal. I'm sure it's something fairly simple that I've missed in the way that I've changed things, but I don't know what the problem is. So when I go up top here, I changed this here so that when you hit a vowel followed by a quote single, it puts up the acute version. If you hit it with a grav, it gives you the grav version. Otherwise, you get the mid version, the normal version of the vowel. And those are indicating the tones. Now, if I go down here to preview, and I do hold it down and do 1, which doesn't work very well in my font software. I get circumflex. That wasn't what I wanted. Hold it down. 1. Oh, it gives me 3 and 4. So 3. That would work on a phone, apparently. I never use grav accents or acute accents in English, so I'm not used to using them on a phone. But according to Lotana, it'll work just fine. So that's the way she wanted me to code the lows. Then you hold it down, and we hit 4, and that gives us the high. And that is doing isol low, isol mid, and isol high. And that should be correct. And then if I do U and a grav, it gives me U iso low, but it doesn't take out the grav accent. Doesn't matter, doesn't show, but it doesn't take it out. Okay, U and a single quote, and it gives me the same value. So both of those things are working, which means that it can be entered on a phone conveniently by a phone user, but it can also be entered on a computer desktop like this, and it should work. In theory. I've got so much done, and to have one little thing like this interfere is really annoying. Okay, so I can see we've got at least one person there. Hello. I won't call you out because I have a general rule of not talking to anybody who doesn't say, like, not mentioning anybody who doesn't say hello in chat, because some people like to just sit and listen. I'm trying to puzzle out a problem here. That is visible. Okay, good. There is a phenomenon which Lotana has called vowel swallowing. And I had code in place that did the vowel swallowing, and it worked great. And then when I went to get ready to do this presentation, it occurred to me that I would need to be able to enter some text. And I went to enter some text and realized that the method that she has given me for specifying high and low tones doesn't work on a desktop computer. It'll work on a phone, and I realize that most of the people that are ever going to use Ndebe are probably going to do it on a phone and not a desktop. But I wanted to be able to accommodate everybody, because of course there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to use it on a desktop if it comes up, right? Even if it's not as common. And that fixing that and going back to the original system I had for indicating the tones using a grav accent or a single quote after the vowel kind of killed the vowel swallowing, which also used a single quote. And I'm trying to figure out why that's happening. Okay, so that's odd. I check when I go to check users in chat to see if anybody's here, it only updates every once in a while, but it also takes away focus from the main screen here. So that's why the program keeps disappearing, just so you know. I'm going to try and stay on the program, mind you. And I have an indicator here that doesn't agree with what the browser is telling me. So an indicator that tells me I've got 3 people watching right now. That is evidently not the case according to Twitch, but it is according to Twitch, so it's confusing. Anyway, I will proceed on the idea that we have a few people in here anyway. When I look at the feature code that defines how this is working, there's a lot of it. Down here, putting a single quote after U iso mid, this one test here, should give us a crossed version of it, and it isn't. Okay, U iso mid is just a U, like that. This is the way you would write oo, if it was initial to the word. There's also U dot, again, the initial form, so the first sound in a word. So I have to apologize for not speaking a word of Igbo. Um, I'm actually terrible at learning languages. Uh, so I don't know if this is oo and oo with a dot is like a shortened or something like that. I presume that's what's going on, but I don't really know what the distinction is. However, I know what the distinction is in the font. You write U or you write U with a dot. And it doesn't matter what case. They come out the same. If you want to write U and make it the low tone, you hit a grav after it, and it displays the low tone version. If you want to make it U and a high tone, you hit a single quote after it, and it displays the high tone version. And that is true for U dot as well. U quote dot and U tick single quote dot. We'll give you those versions. Now, okay, I'm calling them low, mid, and high. So there's a low, mid, and high version of every single glyph. And then there is the vowel swallowed version. And I think the problem that I have with the features check that I'm doing here is that U dot cross mid might not exist. There's a good question. Because, of course, you can't have a vowel swallowed initial vowel. I was originally defining them that way, but I don't think you can. Sorry, I got to go look for. There's a lot of glyphs in this writing system. It's kind of unbelievable. This is probably the most complex thing I've created so far, in terms of the size of the syllabary. It's pretty amazing. I don't think that's showing up there. Just a sec. And there's a problem with my interface being so. Okay. U cross mid. Okay, there is a U cross mid. That's the uppercase version of it. It should be somewhere showing up in here. Fortunately, when you highlight something over here, oh, that's why it's not doing it there. I left those in there, but I took out the glyphs because why, I'm not sure. I got to take them out again. They should actually exist. So I need to do a test on something much simpler, and see if that is the problem. What's the first symbol here? That isn't an isolated vowel. Can't swallow the NM either. It needs to be an actual syllable. There's U cross mid. Okay, it does exist. It should show up. So if I put a U, I get U isol mid. Then I put a single quote. It should put that up there, but I have a feeling that that is being affected up top here by the fact that if you put in a U, and yes, it switches it to U acute. So that's the problem down here, is that I'm using quote single. If I use a different symbol, even if it's just temporarily, let us look at. If anybody has any questions, please ask. I'm more than happy to try and answer them. Doesn't guarantee I can answer them, but I'm more than happy to try. Let's see if we got anybody more in chat here. We do not. Oh, well. No, I think what's happening here is that it is not showing me how many people I have in chat. Okay, well, that's disappointing, but that's okay. So I will hope people show up over time. Sub U isol mid quote single by U dot cross mid. Instead of quote single, we want to use something else that isn't being used. How about the at symbol? Well, problem is that, of course, there's going to be instances where you want to use the at symbol. I don't think semicolon is used. Is it? Punctuation. Semicolon is not used. Okay, so I can test with semicolon, which is called somewhere in here. Semicolon. Good. Try that. Okay, so we run that. We preview that, and if I put a semicolon after it, I get the symbol I don't need, but I don't get the right symbol, do I? Oh, that's giving me dot. Why is that giving me U dot cross mid? Why not U semicolon? U dot cross mid. But if I do U dot that, nothing. It's giving me the wrong thing. This is going to be more complex than I thought. Oh, I've told it to give me U dot cross mid. That's why. Okay. It should give me U isol cross mid if that exists. Does not exist. Right. Ignore. That is not the solution there. And again, we're back to why this is causing a problem when it worked in earlier versions. So we're going to try enabling the mid and using semicolon instead of quote single. Only if I can type. And see if that causes fits. It causes fits. 1820. It does not like that. A fatal error in font in file features at line 1820. If I take out the semicolon entirely, it should do the wrong thing but work. It does. So the problem is that I am trying to do a substitution of a class by another class with the mixture of a punctuation in there. If I make a new class, window, panels, classes, if I make a new class and new open type class and put semicolon in it and call it semicolon, will that let me cheat? It has. No, we want to rename that. Why? Oh, they've changed the way it works here. Semicolon. Used to work off the name like that. So we now have, I better capitalize that. The whole thing. Just to keep it distinct. Okay, we now have a semicolon class. When I go back to preview here, can I do at semicolon tick by mid-cross without it having fits? We cannot. Why? Fatal error in font user script. What I'm trying to do is prevent myself from having to write something like 1,193 separate statements to permit the vowel swallowing function there. And I thought I could do it by using classes, because classes are very clever. And I have a class of all the, I'll show it to you here, all the syllables that are mid-tone, so consonant plus a vowel and mid-tone, and another one for high and low. And then the same thing with, here's mid-cross. These are all the ones, all the classes where the cross symbol has replaced the circle to indicate vowel swallowing. And as I said, this was working, and now it's not. And this makes very little sense, and is one of the reasons why this is a very irritating program at times. It's also very powerful, but very irritating. So I'm very sorry that I had somebody show up and then disappear. That indicates that this presentation is not the most exciting thing going. And I'm sorry about that. I have most of this font working here. I can show you a graphic in OpenOffice. Here is all of the glyphs that do work at the moment in Ndebe, with the consonants down the side and the vowels across the top. And this is not including the dotted vowels. I have to redo this whole consonant chart here with the dotted vowels as well. Then we have the numbers, and we have the punctuation, such as it is. Lotana has said that she's adding more pages to the book that she's written about this, and I'm not sure what the contents are that are being added. I'll obviously have to evolve this more for that. But in the meantime, you can write everything in Ndebe, and it should just work. There might be tweaks required for appearance, for distinction, etc. It's a little hard to read, but this is all the glyphs at 12 point, and on a written page they're actually not that hard to read. They're not as zoomed in here as they might be otherwise. The glyphs are fairly complex, so fitting everything in there so it's visible is a little difficult too. But that's a refinement to the appearance, not to the functionality. I want to get all the functionality present first, and then I can go over and rebuild the way the glyphs look to thicken the lines or something like that. If you look at the Latin font I've got here, that's Verdana, which was designed for clarity on computer monitors. It's using thicker, heavier lines. These are bolded here, by the way, though, so there is that. If I take the bold off of this, it's using, well, actually, it's using thinner lines, but they're better spaced. And it might be that what I have to do with Ndebe here is thicken the lines slightly and space everything out just a little bit differently to make it a bit more visible. I'm going to have to look at that, but that's a usability thing. It's an appearance change down the road. It's not a functionality thing, which is what I'm looking at right now. I'm trying to get right now. So I'm going to drag that back over there. Put it back in the background. and come back to the font itself. You can see the same thing here, and the symbols are actually about the same size. However, it is not, still not working the way I want it to work. That line change there is still producing an error. And I honestly don't understand why. BA. See, now it's automatically putting everything into cross. That doesn't make any sense either. Now we've really screwed things up. Wonder if it's doing that statement. Anyway, we're trying to. Save that. Run that. No errors. Come back to preview. And now it's displaying it correctly. BE. BE. Tick for the high tone. BE. Grav for the low tone. That's all working fine. This is really kind of irritating. Get that so it's a little bit better view there. Put some Stream Beats music in the background if that'll play. Okay, so it's not absolute silence there while I natter on. So this change here with the ticks was to solve my entry problems when on a desktop as opposed to phone. And that has introduced a problem that I have here, which is proving to be rather annoying. And the most annoying thing about it is the fact that it was working. So what I want it to do is to come down here to the end. And it's getting there because if I just type in U, I get U ISO mid, which is that line right there. If I go here and type in U, I enter U, I get U ISO mid, isolated version of a simple U. And then when I get down here and I tell it to do a lookup for vowel swallowing, I want it to look at don't want to do that one. Let's use ZU mid. There should be a ZU sub ZU Z sub U ZU mid tick. What was I using here? Semicolon. Tick by ZU cross mid. That's what should happen, I think. So we save that, we run that, it produces no error. And then when I go into preview and I type in ZU semicolon, yep, that works. I just don't want to have to do one statement for every single line, every single glyph. Okay. Sub if we say at mid, this should fail. Yep. Aborting because of I wish it gave more error information. That is really, really irritating. Sub, mid, semicolon. Both should be replaced because of the ticks by mid cross. What happens if I take out that and just say that? No error. Okay. So that should mean that any okay, so I have that working. I just need to take out the semicolon once it's done. So I can put this lookup back into place. Label it correctly. Say semicolon instead of all this stuff I tried in here. So it'll do the detect, but it won't do a replace of a class and a glyph. That seems to be the idea there. So this last little cleanup line here just takes those symbols out when they're done. Let's see if this craps out. It does not. Save. Re-render. Preview. Okay, GBO. GBO semicolon. Gives you the crossed version. Okay, so that's that working. Good. I'll have to tell Lotana about that, and we can switch the semicolon symbol easily enough. It might get confused with people using a colon. Otherwise. Does make me wonder if I can have people use the single apostrophe anyway. So you'd be using it. Oh. Right now, when you do a low tone, you use a grav accent. Top left-hand key right under the tilde on my keyboard. And that gives you the low tone version. So if I've got, I don't know how this is said, but bo like that, and I put a grav after it, it gives me the low tone version. I put gbo and it gives me the mid tone version, or I put gbo and follow it with a single quote and it gives me the high tone version of that syllable. Then we can do bo period low, or is it low then period, like that, right? Bo period and bo high tone period. I think that should probably be the other way around. You should probably do the vowel period and then indicate the tone for consistency's sake, but I'll talk about that with Lotana. That's the 6 versions of the GB syllable. Excuse me. Stoplight crap. That's all working. Now we can do GBO grav semicolon and get the Xed version of it, a crossed version. GBO semicolon and get the Xed version. BO high tone semicolon and get the right version, or GBO period high tone GB. Oh man, this gets complex quick, doesn't it? I need to be a EBO speaker. And GBO period. No, it's period high tone. No, high tone then period. I think that does need to be fixed. That gives you that. Right, so this back here should actually be like that. So now we have the dotted vowels and the undotted vowels. I think I've just done that twice. I have. Okay. But we have the Xed version of them too. So GBO high tone period Xed. Yes. So the entry for things like this is a little bit complex. That's not my problem. It's Lotana's. But it is possible. And somebody could get used to this and be able to enter a Ndebe text effortlessly, I'm sure, once they get used to the system. Down the road, once we have once it's in Unicode, which is a whole separate issue, and once we have an interface for entering the text, then you might be able to just enter the actual... have I got my preview up here still? Just a sec. Let me tab through until I find it. There we go. Then you might be able to just enter the stem, the radical, and the vowel as 3 symbols, and it will generate the correct symbol for you, which would be much simpler. The way these are indicated right now is by typing the things that are in this chart in. So like for the symbol single cross and the lightning hook, or whatever it's called here, you would type in SSH to get that. And the reason for that is that in some dialects of Igbo, it would be, say, S-A, sa, and in other dialects it would be sha. And the system is designed so that everybody will spell things the same way regardless of their dialect, and I get that. But remembering that is going to be problematic for people down the road, I think. It's a good idea. It's a very clever design. But I think that it might cause some problems down the road. So the neat thing about this system is that it should be pretty cross-dialect, which is cool. But it's going to require more effort from the user, which is going to be dealt with once we have a developed interface. Like I said, I don't know how they're going to build that interface, but my presumption would be that you would pick the stem off the side, and then you would pick the radical, these bits across the top here, and then you would pick the vowel. And you would know that if you wanted... excuse me, if you wanted R A dot low tone, that you would pick the simple stem, the lightning bolt, the low tone version of A with a dot, and you would get the symbol that you want. That would be RA dot. Let me go back here. That would be RA low tone dot, and you would get that result. I think it's going to be easier for people to deal with an interface that just gives them the glyphs that they need. Unfortunately, because Ndebe is not part of the Unicode standard, and that is a very long process, I'm sure. Because it's not part of the Unicode standard, you can't have a keyboard defined with all of the Ndebe symbols on it, which would make typing on a standard desktop much easier. So as a result, we have to have these compromise systems where we take an existing Latin keyboard and come up with key combinations that produce the glyphs that we want, like this. So this is the list of components for Ndebe, and this is my implementation of it. And I realize this probably looks really complex. It's actually not that bad. I would imagine if I spoke even a single word of Igbo, that I could get the hang of this relatively quickly. It is, I will show you here, a lot of glyphs that result from this, but it's actually more than that, I'm pretty sure. It's a lot of glyphs that come out of it, but the actual combinations are not that, there's not that many elements, right? There's 6 stems, 2, 3, 4, 7 radicals, and then all of these vowel forms up here for the dotted vowels and the undotted vowels, and then the 3 tones. Excuse me. It's high, medium, and low across there, and the same over here. It's not that bad. I could see somebody getting used to this relatively quickly with some practice. And I know that there's some people out there in Nigeria that are very interested in Ndebe. I've seen lots of posts for it, and I know Lotan has been working on this for a decade or so. The end result is going to be, I suspect, quite a useful method for native speakers of Igbo to accurately write their language and still retain the tones and things like that, which I understand using a Latin keyboard, people, or Latin spelling system that's currently in use, people often don't indicate the tones. And this is, well, I would imagine unsatisfactory to have to guess from context the meaning, because it was really irritating to try and enter the tone, so somebody just didn't bother. The art style of this is apparently derived from Igbo traditional art or symbols or something like that. And I mean, it was built by somebody who's a native speaker of the language. This isn't, I'm just producing a font for it. It's not like I wouldn't have participated in this. I wouldn't have volunteered for this if it hadn't been a native speaker who came up with it, somebody who's part of the culture. Sorry for the disturbance. That was my cat suddenly deciding she had to run into the door, which was open. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have volunteered to help if it had been a case of if there'd been any air of sort of cultural appropriation. Like if I had invented this system and said, well, here, I've got a system for speakers of Igbo who obviously don't know how to write their own language. Here's a system you could use. That would be really offensive. And personally, to me, I would never do that. But Lotana came up with this. She's a native speaker. She's aware of the problem. She made a system that accurately reflects the language, and her only problem was she didn't have it as a font. And I'm happy to work on that. And it's progressing nicely. I've solved each problem as we've gone along here. I'm looking forward to getting feedback from people on how it actually is to use, because I don't speak the language. I can't really try writing much in this. Like, without knowing the tones, for instance, I can write Lotana like that, but I don't know what the tones would be. So I could indicate the tones if I knew them, but I don't know how it works. Ndebe. I have a feeling that's supposed to be Ndebe with high tones like that. Oh, that's not right. That would be right, I think. And actually, I can probably check that one by looking at ndebe.org. Well, I can check it against Igbo. Here's what Igbo should look like. There. And that should be Igbo, right? So when I go back in here, move that aside, and type in EGBO low tone, and we get the result that we should. Now, like I said, Lotana wanted me to set this up for use on phones, where on the iPhone at least you can hold a vowel down. It kind of works in my font software here, but not very well. It doesn't work in OpenOffice at all. If I type in EGBO and hold it down, it will eventually give me multiple choices, and I can hit 3. And then because it's done all that, I can do that, and it will give me the same result. But for use on the keyboard, we type in IGBO, and then to indicate the low tone, use a grav accent, and it will do it. For the high tone, you use a single quote, and lacking it, you get the mid-tone. So that's all working. We now have the vowel swallowing working again, so I can do that, and you get the Xed versions of the dots on that last glyph there, which apparently in Igbo, in some words, I think when you get a syllable that has two vowels in contact with each other, the second vowel swallows the first vowel and isn't pronounced, but that's not always the case. It's a dialectal thing or something like that. I think she said that when you're angry, you wouldn't do the vowel swallowing. So it's maybe like a casual thing, like an English speaker. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Yeah, I can't think of the right thing to say here. But it's a more casual thing. I'm not sure how it works, and that's unfortunate. So we have most of it in place here. I have, well, here, I'll bring this back up over here, the word processing version. Again, this gives you the low, mid, and high tones for each of the 5 vowels. It does not, this chart does not show the dotted version of the vowels. So I got to redo, well, not redo, I've got to add after this chart another repeat of this chart for the last 4 vowels here that shows the dotted versions of those vowels. I don't think I can fit it on the page if I tried to put them all on one chart with the dotted versions as well. I presume that the dotted are short versions of the vowels and the regular vowels are longer versions, or vice versa. I'm not sure how that works. But I've only got half the chart here. I was doing this morning, just trying to build up a chart of all of the glyphs. Now, we do have the numbers in place as well. Same thing that was shown on here as the numbers there. I've got those as well. For the symbols that are for like 10, 20, 100, 1,000, 10K, a billion, whichever, you put the number sign in before it. That's necessary because otherwise it wouldn't be able to distinguish between hitting 1 and 0 as opposed to hitting 1, 0, wanting that specific symbol. So I've put the number signs in there, and then we have some punctuation that I've provided, but I'm not sure exactly how it's used. So this is most of the glyphs. I got to go and, like I said, add in all of this again, except that there is no dotted version of A. There's just I guess, not a shortened version of it or a longer version or whichever these indicate. Lotana has some people working on a system for entering glyphs on the phone. I believe there is a website that they're building that'll let you enter stuff in as well. My font program will produce a web font, but I haven't tried that yet to see how it works. And there's really no point in doing that until we finalize the font anyway. Otherwise, we run the risk of making changes that somebody wouldn't get when they had acquired the web font on their system, and that would be counterproductive. So I don't know what else to say about this. It's really exciting to me to work on this. I'm quite enjoying. I'll get that out of the way just because it's kind of confusing otherwise. It's really, I volunteered for this, but it's really kind of an honor to work on this because it has the potential to, if it catches on, if this becomes a popular way to write Igbo, it has the potential to affect the lives of millions of people. That's just kind of incomprehensible to me that I would get a chance to do that. So I'm overjoyed that I've had a chance to work on this, and I'm overjoyed with the progress that I've made so far. I recognize it's going to take a lot of effort to finalize this, probably. There'll be some changes required, I'm sure. When I go to preview here, if I... What was I going to show you here? Something else I was going to show you in all this stuff. Oh yeah. There's these markers down here which can be combined with the glyphs up here too. So if I go to preview, hopefully this will work. You can type in 400 and it will give you 4 followed by 2 zeros. Or you can type in number sign 400 and it will give you the combination of the 4 glyph here with the 100 glyph here. And that is true for like 40, 60, 100, etc. 9,000, right up to number sign 9. Yeah, it should work right up to there. Number sign 9B. Oh, it's displayed off a little bit. I'll need to move some stuff, but that, oh, I know what's wrong there. I can fix that right away. That would be 9 with the billion mark here. So the 9 here over top of the billion. And let's go fix that. Why is this? Oh, I'm on the classes page. That's why. Font map. Duh. So these here all need to be moved up a bit, I think. Let's look at this one here. That needs to go up. I think that probably needs to go up. Like that. No, I think she had them marked right over top of it, so the base should be at 450. And it is. Okay, so no, I did adjust those things. That just looked a little rude. I think we will... Oh, sorry. This is the actual glyph that indicates 9 there. We're going to put that up. Like halfway there, maybe. So 2 up. Otherwise, they tend to get lost in the overlap. And that might make it a little easier to see. Oh, yeah, but then this is 6. Let's say we made that 6 billion. If I mark that up part where it's going to stick out. I don't think that was her intention at all. No, I can't raise those back up. They have to go back down. We'll have to adjust the artwork as appropriate, probably. I do wish that for some reason I had learned even just a little bit of EBO. That would have been handy. Anyway, the numbers are working. The punctuation, which isn't shown on here, is working. All of the glyphs are working. It is possible, if I had some EBO text, to enter it all in Ndebe, as far as I know. I don't think I've come across any errors that I haven't fixed. I mean, I did come across lots of errors, but I fixed everything. And I think it's all working properly now. With the exception of these glyphs down here, which I don't think I need. Because you don't end up with... Yeah, I'll have to try deleting those at some point and see if they cause fits in the system. But I don't think that those are going to be used at all, because you can't have a vowel swallowed initial letter. The initial letter be a vowel and then it would disappear because something else ate it. No. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Maybe I've scheduled this badly. I don't know. There's nobody out there. I mean, people have come and gone, but no big crowds or anything like that. Haven't even had Lotana show up, so maybe it's a bad time to do it midweek, midday. I am thinking about doing a presentation on this on YouTube as well, but I have to set up to test for YouTube, and I haven't configured OBS for that. I'm probably going to have to come out with a different version of this setup just for use on YouTube, because it requires configuration changes in the Open Broadcasting System software. And so I'm going to have to do some tests on that first, but then I will be trying YouTube as well, which I understand is extremely popular with people in Africa, and in particular in Nigeria. So more accessible. And one of the problems with Twitch is, of course, that you can't really search for anything. There's hashtags for things, but most people don't search by them. So there's that. I should actually check and see what I've got here, shouldn't I? I have what's listed as available. Yeah, their search system in Twitch is lame, shall we say. Whereas with YouTube, it's less flexible as a live streaming service, from what I can see. There's less features than there are in Twitch. Certainly much less audience participation and that sort of thing. But it's more discoverable. You can search things there that you can't do here. And that makes Twitch somewhat problematic when it comes to trying to do something like this, because the audience can't find you. If they don't know you're there, they can't find you at all. And that makes it kind of counterproductive. Okay, well, I've gone over this, and only had 1 or 2 people show up. So I think I'm going to end this and go back to working on the font itself. If you are one of the people that came by, or if you check this out later on, hopefully that gave you an overview of where we're at here. We have a fairly complete writing system with all of the glyphs present. It is somewhat readable. There's going to need to be some refinements done on that, I think, but it is possible to write with this. It should be possible to write everything with this. And subject to any additions that Lotana has made to the way the writing system works, it's more or less feature complete. And that's very cool. Now it's going to be down to how do we refine stuff so that it's more visible and more easily read at smaller size glyphs and things like that. That's a whole different refinement process. But I've more or less got all of the features included now, so I've just got to document them and draw out the rest of this chart, and this should be good. So whether you saw this when you came online and joined me here, or whether or not you see this after the fact, I hope you enjoyed that. I will be doing more on this until the whole project is done. And have a great day. I will kill the music. And that did not kill the music. I have a problem with my setup here. Oh well, it's free music anyway. Have a great day. We will see you next time, hopefully.